Hello guys, this is Real Audio, and today I'm going to talk about how to voice your system successfully. And there's a lot of advice on the internet, like people are listening to their favorite recordings and they want to make the system sound the best with it. And then you bring one favorite, and then you bring another favorite, and maybe a third favorite, fourth, and maybe also Lorena McKennitt, Black Tape for a Blue Girl. You bring your Rush album, Madonna's Ray of Light, and a couple more of your favorites, and you voice your system so that all of these selections, they sound the best. And this is what audiophiles have been doing forever. This is how I started and what I was doing in the past, and this is what my buddies are doing. And the only difference between us is that all of us have a different selection of record of what are our favorites. So some of us have more jazz in it, others have more pop, others more rock, others more classical, but there's a variety pack, and based on what you pick, it's going to influence a lot the system choices, the gear choices you make to make that recording sound the best. For example, when we look at AHA, and we can also look at the Rush as well. So these guys, and generally 80s music in general, they have a really brutal, absolutely brutal EQ applied to them, how they were recorded. And if you voice your system for these, then it will be totally skewed. And these will sound good on it, but the rest of your choices, if you want to listen to something else, they will all suck really big time. And you would think that if you use this favorite recording of yours, you will reach the best system sooner or later. However, my experience and what I have seen people do, and what's happening is that when you use just a limited set of recordings to voice your system, it's going to lead you to a dead end, because it's going to have such distortions and colorations and processing that ultimately those that types of processing that your gear does to reverse what the engineers did to stray away from a balanced sound, and now your system is undoing that. So those recordings which have a balanced sound, when you apply the transformation to them, they sound really skewed and distorted. But there's something else going on, is that your system is doing transformation and distortion, and that is the fact that's leading to you to the dead end. And if you try to put together pieces of gear that distort, because of that added distortion, you are never going to reach the what I would call like a very high level. You are going to get stuck in the middle zone, in the mid range. You are not going to reach audio nirvana. You are going to reach an audio happy land where you are kind of happy with your favorite recordings. But what is the news I share with you, that you can get from your favorite recordings just so much more out of them if you go through a very different road to voice your system. So that different road to voice your system is to use music that was not processed. That is classical music. Like for example, Franz Lehár or Lehár Ferenc, how he was properly called, the Merry Widow, EMI, pretty natural balanced recording. Gregor József, great buffo scenes, so basically basso areas. If you want to just fine tune it for the human voice, music instruments that were recorded without doing gimmicky processing, and that's why I can really recommend the Hungaroton label, because this is a Hungarian label, and they had their own unique way of doing their recordings, but that unique way was not applying any kind of artifice. So the sound of their recordings is really direct. The most natural sounding, I would say the most authentic sounding recordings I heard were and are the Hungarotons. So these are the ones that make me feel mostly how I feel when I am at a classical concert and listening to Gregor József. Incidentally, I heard him live a couple of times, and it is truly a life-changing experience. Sadly, Gregor József has already passed away, but once I even had the chance to run into him at a local store. So he was buying sausages for dinner, and and he was just greeting the cashier and just he just said like one or two sentences, just basic communications like hello, how are you, and so on. But his voice just filled the entire store. It was the craziest experience. So when we hear the singers sing on the stage, that's quite something. But and then there are some singers the caliber of Gregory József, because I have met many singers who not just on the stage but off the stage, and off the stage often that presence that they are throwing, that voice disappears. But with him, even his natural voice, his real life voice, was purely astonishing. So if you can find this recording, when I was a kid I used to listen to this. I had that on cassette tape, probably 1,000 times. I think I can sing all of these Buffo scenes myself. I know the lyrics of them by heart, and I just got this recording a couple of weeks ago. I haven't even listened to it, and imagine I just bought it, and it turned out that it was sealed brand new. So I got really lucky with that one. So anyway, back to voicing your system. You can use I really recommend to use unedited, unprocessed music, which is classical music. They don't toy with the EQ, they don't toy with astonishing levels of compression, and look for labels like Hungaroton. You can also look for EMI. They have very natural sounding recordings. You can also go back to the mono era, and and this album, like, she has a couple recordings that people say are really not such good hits, but this album is just one of the most fantastic female vocals ever on recording. I just gave this as my verdict. And I can tell you guys that you will not tell that this is a mono recording. It has better imaging than most stereo recordings do. And if you use this to voice your system, then you can get a lot out of it. So what else? What if you do not have a turntable? A couple of my favorite CDs. Andre Segovia box set. I really recommend this to use as a guitar voicing recording. It has fabulous guitar on it, and usually I prefer LP much to CD, but this CD was done in a way that I do not mind listening to it for hours and hours. And it's a 4 CD set, so you can enjoy the maestro's guitar playing on and on and on. Also, I have talked about Claudio Arau's Schubert Philips edition. This one, my Micromega, plays it as if it was analog. I never even think that this is a digital recording. It's just so fantastic. Hildegard von Bingen, several CDs, female vocals. If you These are superb because they are in cathedrals. These are excellent to voice your tweeters, your high frequency reproduction. If these are not completely crystal clear, you cannot hear the voices, you cannot hear the soaring, that the voices really rise up to the cathedral. They should really soar up high, like to the room above you. If you don't have that effect, then just develop your system until you get there. And of course, this is like having the real piano in your room. Once my neighbor commented that who is the person playing the piano at 10 p.m. at your house. It's amazingly, astonishingly gorgeous, but can you please let him know to stop because we want to sleep? Okay. And those were musicians who made that comment. This recording, this is a mono recording, Dorothy's Swan Lake, astonishingly dynamic, and it's hypnotic. So the first time I heard this CD, this was my first true mono experience. This is how I lost my mono virginity, and it's really fabulous. So if you I can really recommend everyone to use this. I use this record a lot, like 20 years ago to 10 years ago. This was one of my main recordings used to voicing. Lokua Kanza Toyabite, the most amazing vocalist. This man, he is one of the most dynamic human voices on recorded media, and lots of natural sounds, lots of natural things, and he is I recommend him 100% for voicing your system. Proprius, you have heard about it, and you know of Cantate Domino. This is a similar material, but with a baritone, Hakan Hagegard. I prefer it to the Cantate Domino. This is my favorite Proprius recording. I wish I had it on LP, but even on CD, I just love it. And I can really warmly recommend for everyone. It has church organ and human voice. So you can, if you can find it somewhere, there it is, PRCD 9004. And if you can find it, grab it, okay? If it costs a lot of money, I don't care, buy it. If I would lose this CD, I'm generally a cheapskate about spending money on music, and I try to find like a cheaper copies. But if the cheapest one would be like $200, I would buy it. Okay, so a couple more things. I will talk to her about her later on, but she is an Okinawan singer and one of the most astonishing female voices. Henrik Sering, highly recommended. And this is something that you cannot get, but I'm showing it because this is my friend Tatoshi's recording. This is the one that he made with my guitar, and he did not apply processing to it, and he played these songs that are on this CD in my living room, sitting between my loudspeakers, so I could compare A B, how it sounds really on the guitar that it's recorded on, and in the room with the same acoustics versus the reproduction when you put the CD on. And if you have something like that, music that you made, I really warmly recommend to use that as a tool to voice your system, provided that you did not put like heavy compressors on it and all kinds of processing that alters the tone, the phase, and whatnot. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this really helps everyone to give you a pointer, because I have that's the feedback I got from all of my friends, is that when you use classical music to voice your system, then you can avoid falling into the pitfall of over specializing it to a dead end. I think I need to repeat this. If you voice your system with a certain preference of a highly processed recording, you will go and end up into a dead end, because your system will sound distorted. It will have elements that distort the sound. You are never going to get pure sound out of your system. If you voice it for these guys, then you will get clean sound out of your system. And yes, these will sound the best on it. However, then the next step that goes beyond that, if you want to enjoy these guys, then you can find out ways how to play these music, not that, but these music to the fullness of your heart. But that's your next step of how to figure that out. And I will make a video on it, what I did to figure out how to listen to recordings that use different EQ than the natural one, and I will share it with you, and then see if you can apply it to your system. And have a wonderful day. Enjoy the sound. Bye bye.